Just because of the huge reward, this man had the intention of killing his best friend. Also because in Korea at that time, there appeared a terrifying perverted murderer. He would live stream to choose the next victim he wanted to kill. Today's spin stopped at the name Chang Jae. The murderer continued to spin, and the needle pointed to 1 billion won. In the last spin, the punishment was to cut off an ear. The masked murderer announced that he would offer a reward of 1 billion won to anyone who could cut off one of Chang Jae's ears. After watching the video, all the police were surprised by the sinister game that the masked man had set up. When the information was released, Chang Jae was imprisoned in a cold storage by his close friend Ji Hong. Ji Hong told Chang Jae that if you voluntarily let me take one of your ears, I would split the reward 4 and 6, and Ji Hong would let Chang Jae take the larger portion. Hearing Ji Hong say that, Chang Jae resisted and escaped outside. But after a while of running away, Chang Jae was also controlled by Ji Hong. At this time, Ji Hong advised Chang Jae to agree. Ji Hong told Chang Jae, "Listen to me. Even if you slaughter pigs all your life, you won't earn 1 billion. You won't die if you lose an ear." After finishing dividing, they divided it 6 and 4 as planned. At this time, Ji Hong also started using a knife to cut off one of Chang Jae's ears. Right after hearing the news about the incident, Lieutenant Jung Sik and Patrolman Eun Jung went to the hospital. They came to investigate the case of a man who had mysteriously lost an ear. Eun Jung reported to Jung Sik that a man covered in blood had carried him to the hospital. The doctor standing next to him also said that the wound on his ear didn't look like an accident, but rather like someone had intentionally cut it out. Because the cut was so obvious, the two policemen started to review the hospital's camera data and saw the man who brought the patient in. He was holding an ear in his hand, but he did not hand it over for the doctor to stitch it up for the patient. The man had carried the patient out of a truck. Jung Sik quickly called the office to inform his boss, Soo Jang, and asked Soo Jang to find the address of the truck that had just appeared on the camera. Then Jung Sik drove to Ji Hong's building. Jung Sik knocked on the door and found that it was unlocked, so he went inside. After a while of searching, Jung Sik saw an ear soaked in a glass of water. Jung Sik continued to check. He walked towards the cupboard, and suddenly a suitcase fell out. On the suitcase was a red spiral symbol of 3 circles on top. Jung Sik opened the suitcase and was very surprised by what was inside. When Jung Sik just closed the suitcase, Ji Hong also returned home. When Ji Hong heard Jung Sik introduce himself as a policeman, Ji Hong immediately ran away. Jung Sik immediately chased Ji Hong in every corner. After a while of running, Ji Hong also started to get tired. Suddenly, he slipped and fell down the stairs and broke his neck and died immediately. Jung Sik intended to report the incident to the police, but he discovered that the security camera here was broken, so Jung Sik decided to call an ambulance and reported Ji Hong's death. After that, Jung Sik returned to Ji Hong's house. A while later, the police also came to search Ji Hong's house. Jung Sik also told his colleague Jun So about Ji Hong running away when he knew Jung Sik was a policeman. When Ji Hong was running away, he didn't pay attention and fell down the stairs and broke his neck and died. A moment later, Jung Sik got in the car with a very tense face. Jung Sik quickly drove away. At this time, Chang Jae had escaped from the hospital and called Ji Hong because he wanted to get the bonus. But Chang Jae could not contact Ji Hong. While Chang Jae was leaving, he saw bloodstains on the stairs. At this time, Chang Jae rushed to Ji Hong's house and was surprised to find that the house was sealed. Chang Jae quickly ran into the house and searched for a while, but could not find the suitcase. So he immediately took the truck key and ran to the car to look for the suitcase, but still could not find anything. After a while of searching, Chang Jae suddenly realized that the truck's dash cam was pointing straight at the entrance of the building, so he drove away in the truck. Then he went to an internet cafe and reviewed the data in the camera. In the video, Chang Jae saw a man chasing Ji Hong outside. Then the man came back and took the suitcase out and put it in the trunk of his car. Chang Jae also started watching other videos to confirm the man's identity. After a while, Jung Sik also arrived home. He drove into the garage and found a place without cameras to park the car. Before opening the trunk, he carefully observed the surroundings. It turned out that Jung Sik was the one who took Ji Hong's suitcase. Jung Sik opened the suitcase and saw a lot of money inside. Jung Sik started counting and was surprised to see that there was 1 billion won in the suitcase. Then he closed the trunk and hurried home. He had to do that because he had invested a large sum of money in a friend's company, but this friend took all the money money and ran away. Now Jung-sik was in a very difficult situation. The next morning, while Jung-sik was sleeping on the sofa, his wife suddenly ran out and asked him where he got the money. Or, he caught that scammer. Jung-sik didn't say anything. He just told his wife to use the money to pay the interest on the 400 million won debt. Then Jung-sik promised his daughter So-mi that he wouldn't sell the house anymore, and he would buy her a new violin. Jung-sik went to work and reported to his boss that the culprit who cut off Chang-jae's ear was also dead, and there was no one left to prosecute. They should also close this case. Then Eun-jung called to inform that Chang-jae had escaped from the hospital. At this time, Jung-sik asked Eun-jung to let this go. Jung-sik also didn't report it to the police, so Eun-jung didn't need to file any reports with her superiors. Otherwise, it would be very troublesome. Then Jung-sik also hid the suitcase in the trunk of his car. But Jung-sik didn't know that Chang-jae was also secretly sitting in a truck in a corner to watch him. At this time, the police started to hold an emergency meeting. After watching the video, Jung-sik also knew that the suitcase he was holding was the money that the masked man had paid Ji-hong, because that man had completed the mission of cutting off Chang-jae's ear. At this time, the police chief also asked Jung-sik if he had found 1 billion won at the scene. Jung-sik quickly denied that he had. Jung-sik also reported that Chang-jae had escaped from the hospital. At this time, a police officer continued to release the latest video of the masked man. He said that he had read all the comments and that he had been accused by everyone of not paying the reward yet because everyone did not believe him. The masked man had prepared a surprise. He would give away 1 billion won at Hosan Stadium at 5 o'clock this afternoon. Immediately after that, a police force was present at Hosan Stadium to prepare for an ambush outside the stadium. They sent another team to search for any suspicious signs inside. Many people also gathered outside to get news and started taking pictures and live streaming. When it was almost 5 o'clock in the afternoon, everyone started counting down to wait for something special to happen, but they didn't see any money appear. Some people thought it was just a scam, so they started to leave. At this time, suddenly, very large balloons with a red three-circle logo appeared in the sky. Then it started flying towards the inside of the stadium, so people also started to rush in. They were ready to use their strength to push the police barricades to get inside. At this time, the situation became very chaotic. When Jung-sik just ran into the stadium, the balloons also started to explode and a rain of money also fell. The crowded crowd ran into the stadium and started to compete to pick up the money falling from the sky. A fierce fight over the money ensued. But soon after, everyone was taken to the police station. Although some people had taken a lot of money, they couldn't spend it because the police had confiscated it all and forced them to write a report. Suddenly, the masked man made a new broadcast. He suggested a new round. He started spinning the roulette wheel. The needle stopped, and the next person chosen was the 49-year-old criminal Guho. It was learned that Guho would be released from prison in 3 days. The prize selection wheel started to move and landed on 20 billion won. This made everyone's excitement rise even higher. When the masked man started to choose the punishment, the wheel stopped at the kill position. He started the mission that if anyone kills Guho, he will give that person 20 billion won. Even if that person is caught by the police, he will still give the money. But if Guho does something stupid, he will double the prize in the next round. The horrific crimes of the criminal Guho began 13 years ago. He was a sick man who had a hobby of attacking women he knew. That day, after he had done something to a girl, out of habit, this Guho started to put the female employee's name on his list of victims, but he did not expect that at this time, she had died on the spot. After Guho was arrested, the police searched the place where he had said he had killed her, and they discovered the body of the poor victim, Mi-jin. When Mi-jin's father saw his daughter's body being brought up by the police, he could not control his anger. He grabbed a bottle of wine and threw it at Guho's head. After the trial, Guho was sentenced to 15 years in prison for harassing many women and killing the last victim. However, his sentence was reduced by 2 years because he was recognized as a model prisoner. A meeting of high-ranking officials was held to discuss and debate whether to increase the force to protect the criminal Guho. The police also investigated the IP address of the masked man, but according to the report, they found that the address came from Eastern Europe and Pakistan. So at this time, finding the exact location of the masked man was very difficult. The tension was clearly visible on the face of the police chief. He ordered that the mysterious man must be found within a week. He mobilized all police forces to surround the criminal Guho's house immediately after his release. The police chief affirmed that he did not care what the scum had done in the past, but as police officers, they could not stand by and watch him get killed. The police chief spoke to the media and promised that he would not let any more murders be carried out by the mysterious masked man. After that, prisoner Guho was released. After changing into his normal clothes, he politely said goodbye to the prison manager. There were many people waiting there. Inspector Sujan stood up and announced that my team would escort him home safely. After hearing this, Guho did not understand what was going on, so Jung-sik told him to obediently get in the car because there were many people waiting to kill him. Then the entire inspection team escorted Guho out. When the prison door opened, there were many reporters and protesters waiting outside. They angrily started to attack this evil and cruel criminal. When Guho was loaded into the car, countless eggs were thrown at him. Then the car quickly moved away. Images of the criminal Guho being released were quickly broadcast on the bulletin boards. Legal experts also discussed because there were many waves of protests against this dangerous criminal being reintegrated into the community. But there were also some opinions that the criminal Guho should be protected because the games of the mysterious masked man could not be controlled and made people excited. At this time, there were many police cars on the road to protect the safety of the car carrying Guho. Guho was also reading the sincere apology to the people of Hosan that the inspector had prepared for him to help calm public opinion. Guho wondered what he had done wrong and why people were hunting him down. Jung-sik heard that and immediately announced that someone had offered a reward of 20 billion won for Guho's head. Guho smiled because he thought his life was worth that much. Then Guho also affirmed that he had reformed very well in the past 13 years, so the police had no right to restrict his freedom. When Jung-sik heard these words, he became angry because now there were many policemen trying their best to protect the life of a scumbag like him. Then Sujin also asked Guho to read a sincere apology to try to calm public opinion. At this time, many protesters were standing in front of Guho's house. They were protesting that the police had released a beast. When Guho was about to get out of the car, he deliberately made a scene to make himself look pitiful. The car escorting him also arrived under fierce attacks from the protesters. The police escorted him into the house. They let Guho speak in front of everyone. He wanted to sincerely apologize to the victims and their families for having to endure the pain for so many years. He then knelt down and cried bitterly and continued to apologize so passionately that the entire crowd of protesters were moved. Jung-sik, who witnessed this scene, felt disgusted by Guho's hypocrisy. Once Guho was allowed into the house, his attitude began to change. He no longer had the pitiful look from before. When the police announced that they would be there to monitor and protect him, he looked at the handcuffs and began to assert that everyone wanted the 20 billion won. So he thought the police were the most dangerous people right now. Jung-sik was extremely angry when he heard Guho's words. At this time, in a coastal area, there was an old woman who was making a living by hunting for seafood under the sea. She listened absent-mindedly to the news that the next target of the mysterious person was the murderer, Guho. The bounty on Guho's head was 20 billion won. She went home and prepared food, put it in trays, and carefully labeled each type of food. Then she bathed her old and weak husband. She also prepared medicine for her husband. At this time, she also told her husband that if she could not return, he should call a social worker. The next day, the lawyer escorted a woman to Guho's house. They were led inside by the police. As soon as they reached the door, Guho saw his wife. He tried to hug his wife but was stopped by the lawyer. Then the lawyer showed him the divorce papers and said that I sent it to your prison, but you refused and did not accept it. The lawyer said that Guho's wife didn't need any alimony. She wanted to get custody of her child. After hearing that, Guho was so angry that he wanted to hit the lawyer, but Guho was stopped by Inspector Jun-seo. At this time, Guho's wife also said that her child didn't need a father like him, so he shouldn't look for the child anymore. At this time, Guho was no longer calm and tried to rush forward to ask if she had married another man during the time he was arrested. When she and the lawyer were about to leave, Guho threatened that he would definitely find his son right now at the old fisherman's house. She was extracting some blood from a poisonous fish. She had prepared sharp arrows. At this time, when the security guard of the building where Jung-sik was staying was checking, he suddenly discovered a guy trying to pry open the trunk of Jung-sik's car. The guy saw that he had been discovered and ran away. A moment later, the security guard told Jung-sik that a very tall man had tried to pry open his trunk. Jung-sik hurriedly ran down to check and saw that the suitcase of money was still intact, so he got in the car to check the dash cam. At this time, Jung-sik Jung-sik saw that Chan Jae was making challenging actions towards him. Jung-sik looked very panicked and quickly drove away. Jung-sik was having a headache about where to hide the suitcase when he received a call from Kang Yu informing him that Guho was resisting and wanted to go out. Seeing the situation, Jung-sik immediately said he would go there right away. At this time, the fisherman drove to the murderer's house and was stopped by a patrolling police officer. She immediately said that she was there to visit her daughter and that her daughter's house was right above. The police searched the truck but found nothing unusual, so they agreed to let her drive the car in. Jung-sik arrived and asked Guho to go inside and sleep, but he didn't listen and shouted loudly and told the press that his human rights were being violated. Jung-sik saw that he couldn't persuade Guho, so he asked where Guho wanted to go now. When Guho said he wanted to go to the supermarket, Jung-sik said that if he needed anything, they would buy it for him, but Guho still struggled and shouted loudly to call the reporter. Seeing the tense situation, Jung-sik agreed to give Guho 3 minutes to shop at the supermarket. Right after that, 2 inspectors went into a supermarket and asked the owner to let them borrow the place for 5 minutes, and then they asked all the customers who were shopping to go out for a bit. There were many policemen escorting Guho to the supermarket. At this time, the old lady was also sitting in the car, observing the situation. Then she started to cover her arrows with a layer of poisonous fish blood. At this time, Guho also entered the supermarket and was accompanied and monitored by 2 more inspectors. The old woman wanted to enter the supermarket but was stopped by a police officer. She immediately made an excuse that she had low blood sugar and needed to buy chocolate urgently, so the police officer agreed to let her enter the supermarket. As soon as she entered the supermarket, she quickly looked at the camera screen to determine Guho's location. She went to his location and started to take out the weapon hidden in her shirt. Then she also continuously shot at Guho but missed. When the police saw the chaos inside the supermarket, he rushed in. Suddenly, the police officer was grabbed by Guho to use as a shield for his arrows. After that, the old fisherman was also handcuffed by Jung-sik. Luckily, Guho was not hurt, but the poor policeman was foaming at the mouth because he was hit by a poisonous arrow. After everyone had put the policeman in the ambulance, Jung-sik came and asked what she had put on the arrow, but she didn't say anything. Jung-sik angrily shouted that she knew that the poor boy was injured. Jung-sik returned to the police station and was told by his colleagues that she was the mother of the female officer, Min-jin. Min-jin was the girl who was killed by Guho 13 years ago. Her husband is now in the final stage of liver cancer. After his daughter died, he also became mentally ill. At this time, Soo-jang entered the interrogation room and told the old fisherwoman that they were now forced to deal with her according to the law. She worriedly asked how the policeman was doing. Soo-jang replied that the poison from the puffer fish was spreading rapidly in his body, so he was still in a coma. At this time, at the old fisherman's house, someone pulled a suitcase. Later, when her husband opened the door, he found it placed in front of the house with the words, "To Mrs. June." There was also a symbol of a mysterious person on the suitcase. 2 days ago, a court was holding an appeal hearing on the case of workers who had an accident while they were building a shopping mall. But the judge dismissed the defendant's appeal, and the operators of the shopping mall won the case. Lawyer Sang-bong also gently comforted his client. Then he went to the bathroom. His face was no longer sad because he lost the case. On the contrary, he smiled very maliciously. He called the opposing lawyer. At this time, that person was also partying with the CEOs to celebrate the victory. After that, Lawyer Kim gave Sang-bong a stack of money because he agreed to lose the case. Lawyer Kim also asked Sang-bong about the NCT project that was being suspended. Lawyer Kim also reminded that Sang-bong had invested all his money and legal fees into the project. Now the Gukman party is looking for a new candidate for the mayor of Hosan City. However, they know that all of them will lose to Myungja in the upcoming election. Therefore, the Gukman party is looking for someone to defeat her, and Lawyer Kim thinks that the person who can do this is Sang-bong. But Sang-bong refused to do so. Then he went to his NCT project that was being suspended. He thought for a while, and then suddenly changed his mind. The next day, Sang-bong and Lawyer Kim went to the Gukman party to meet the head of the Gukman party, Bong-soo. Bong-soo frankly expressed his displeasure with the current female mayor of Hosan City. He thought that she was becoming more and more arrogant and always acted like she was the center of the universe. Therefore, he really wanted to prevent her from running for re-election. At that time, Sang-bong also spoke up and suggested that he reconsider approving the construction permit for the NCT NCT project. This project was currently suspended. Bong-soo did not refuse, but said that if the area was sold in the future, he would also like to have a share of the profits. Sang-bong understood Bong-soo's intention, so he immediately bowed his head and promised that I would not let you suffer in this case. As soon as Sang-bong stepped out, he saw Mayor Myung-ja coming. She was very angry and went to see Bong-soo. Then Sang-bong went to his office. He turned on the news. The news reported that the murderer Guho was attacked by a 70-year-old woman at the supermarket. Then Sang-bong opened the latest video of the mysterious person. In the video, the man looked extremely excited. He praised the poisoned arrow technique that the old fisherwoman used to attack Guho. However, a young policeman was hit by the arrow and was in danger of paralysis. So the mysterious person reminded everyone to be more careful. Everyone should not harm innocent people. However, because the old woman was the mother of the girl who was raped by Guho 13 years ago, he sent 1 billion won to her husband, in the hope that they could hire a good lawyer to help the family. At the end of the video, he told everyone to do their best because a reward of 20 billion was still waiting for them. At this time, the news was broadcasting the speech of Mayor Myung-ja. She requested that the government mobilize all resources to ensure the safety of Hosan City. Sang-bong then called Bong-soo and informed that he had a way to defeat Myung-ja. Sang-bong also pointed out Myung-ja's intention that she wanted to use Guho to beg for votes from the people. Bong-soo also promised that if Sang-bong could overthrow Myung-ja, everything of the NCT project would be restored. At this time at the hospital, a young man quietly sat by the bedside to take care of his wife who was in a coma. He needed 500 million won to perform surgery on his wife. In the evening, when Jung-sik drove to Guho's house, he saw a new car parked outside. Then Jung-sik ran inside and asked Jun-seo if you had just bought an electric car, right? Jung-sik wanted to borrow it for a few days to test drive it. Jung-sik wanted to know whether he should buy a similar car or not. Jun-seo laughed and said that his car was still sealed. But Jung-sik quickly used a little trick so that he could easily get Jun-seo's car key. Then Jung-sik took the suitcase of money from his car and put it in Jun-seo's new electric car. Sang-bong went to Guho's house and saw that it was heavily guarded, so Sang-bong immediately found a convenient place to approach Guho. Sang-bong climbed up a house opposite Guho's house and shouted loudly. Sang-bong declared that he would become Guho's defense lawyer. Sang-bong also emphasized that Guho's rights were being unjustly violated. Then the patrol police also appeared to drag Sang-bong away. At this time, Guho was also listening to Sang-bong's words inside the house. This guy's name is Kyuhyun. His wife is terminally ill. He was sneaking into the company's laboratory to get some chemicals. When the guard suddenly appeared, he quickly said that he had left his drinking glass there and was going back to get it. Seeing that, the guard let it go. As soon as the guard left, Kyuhyun quickly grabbed another bottle of chemicals. Sang-bong still refused to leave Guho's house. Sang-bong was still standing outside and kept using the law to scare the protesters here. He said that they were violating the law on assembly and demonstration. At the same time, those people were also violating the right to happiness and the constitution that protects citizens. Sang-bong also affirmed that he had filmed the whole thing as evidence. Sang-bong declared that he would sue all the protesters and the police force. After those words, a bottle was thrown at his head. He was attacked by a protester. When Guho looked through the window, he thought that Sang-bong seemed to be on his side. So Guho immediately informed Jung-sik through the walkie-talkie that he wanted to talk to Sang-bong. Jung-sik then informed Sang-bong about this. Sang-bong knew that he had a chance, so he promised to protect Guho's human rights. At this time, Guho agreed to let Sang-ho into the house to talk. Seeing that, Jung-sik immediately checked Sang-bong's ID. Then Jung-sik led Sang-bong into the house. Guho came out and asked Jung-sik to stay outside. When Jung-sik worriedly said that what if Sang-bong came to kill Guho, Sang-bong immediately said that maybe Jung-sik was the more dangerous one. Sang-bong was the one who came here to save Guho. Sang-bong also emphasized that Jung-sik was violating his client's right to legal path representation. Hearing that, Jung-sik also left so that the two could talk to each other. Guho invited Sang-bong to drink coffee and said that he didn't have money to pay Sang-bong. Sang-bong immediately said that he didn't need Guho's money either. Sang-bong said that when he needed something, he would tell Guho later. Sang-bong then gave Guho a power of attorney. At the same time, Kyuhyun was also making a remote control device and a chemical bottle with an explosive device attached. Kyuhyun brought it to an abandoned building and used a mannequin to test it. After he left the explosive device, he went downstairs and pressed the trigger button. A loud explosion was also heard above. Jung-sik returned to work and found a package on his desk that had been delivered. He opened the box and saw a USB inside. He plugged it into his phone to watch it. Jung-sik saw the video of him taking taking the suitcase of money out of Jihoon's house. Jung-sik was scared and got into his car to watch the video again when he suddenly received a call from an unknown number. Chang-jae was standing nearby on the phone. Chang-jae threatened Jung-sik that he would send this video to the broadcasts so that everyone would know that there was a policeman who killed an innocent person. That person also stole 1 billion won. From the scene, Jung-sik insisted that he did not kill Jihoon, but Chang-jae did not care. Chang-jae also threatened Jung-sik that if you did not want to ruin your family life, you should return the money to me. Chang-jae also said that Jung-sik dared to take his money to buy a new car. Chang-jae gave Jung-sik 48 hours to return all the money he had taken. Chang-jae also said that he knew all of Jung-sik's actions. After that, he left. At this time, Jung-sik also started to worry and called Eun-jung to ask if she had investigated Chang-jae's whereabouts. Then Jung-sik went to the house where Chang-jae lived. Jung-sik discovered that there were many overdue debt notices sent to Chang-jae. Jung-sik then used an illegal method to unlock the door of the house. Jung-sik entered the house and found a woman inside, but it turned out to be just a doll. At this time, Chang-jae was also going home. He was surprised to find a white car parked in front of the house. This car was similar to the car he had just seen at the police station, so he quickly ran to a house next door. Chang-jae saw Jung-sik breaking into his house. Then Jung-sik also drove away in the white car. At Kyu-hyun's house, he was putting a chemical bottle containing an explosive device into a styrofoam box. Then Kyu-hyun sealed it and gave it to a delivery man, telling him to deliver it before 6 p.m. Guho is now asking lawyer Song Bong to help him get custody of his son from his ex-wife. His wife also threatened to sue him if he did not sign the divorce papers. Now Guho blamed him for having to suffer in prison for 13 years, and as soon as he saw him again, his wife coldly asked him to file for divorce. But Song Bong sympathized and said that if Guho went to court now, it would be very difficult for him to gain custody of the child. So Sang Bong advised Guho that he had to try to prolong the time to find his wife's weak point. Sang Bong also suggested that Guho record everything to collect evidence. Sang Bong would bring the recording device to Guho tomorrow. Sang Bong said that Guho would have to make his wife make a mistake by any means. Then the two of them laughed at each other smugly. Sang Bong then asked Guho if he wanted to go out for some fresh air and have a few drinks together. Guho then used the walkie-talkie to ask the police to clear the way for him, but the police informed him that the superiors had ordered him not to go out. Sang Bong then told Guho to rest assured he will take action. Sang Bong proudly walked out with Guho. At this time, Kyu-hyun was also outside. Sang Bong declared that he was Guho's legal representative. Sang Bong would guarantee Guho's civil rights. When Junso refused to let Guho out, Sang Bong continued to use the law to threaten everyone. At this time, Kyu-hyun realized that there were 3 minutes left until 6 p.m. Immediately, the delivery man also drove to this place and was stopped by the patrolling police. But because the police were busy handling another case, they did not pay attention. Therefore, the delivery man also drove into the blocked area. At this time, Jung-sik also called his wife to ask about the 100 million won that his brother had given him, but his wife said that she had used it all to pay interest. Jung-sik hung up and continued driving. Now the delivery man had also driven to Guho's house. The delivery man took out the box and went straight upstairs. Kyu-hyun also took out the control device to prepare for action when Junso immediately confiscated the box. Sang Bong immediately asked that they check the box carefully before giving it to his client. Kyu-hyun also pressed the button, but the signal was lost, so he quickly went closer to catch the signal. At this time, Jung-sik also drove the white car to the place, and he crossed the security fence to drive inside. Jung-sik saw his colleague arguing fiercely with Sang Bong just because of a package, so he immediately took the box and threw it at Junso's newly bought white car. Kyu-hyun saw that his plan had failed, so he angrily threw the control device on the ground. Kyu-hyun took out the chemical bottle and decided to act on his own, but he was immediately stopped by the police. Kang-yu noticed that the guy was holding a bottle of chemicals, so he rushed over. Suddenly, the control device short-circuited and was automatically activated, causing the car to explode and injure many people. Jung-sik realized that Kang-tu was seriously injured, so he rushed over. Kyu-hyun was also lying motionless next to him. Guho, the main cause of the incident, was still standing there in good health. A few days before the incident, Mayor Myung-ja was summoned to the prosecutor's office because she was suspected of withdrawing 280 billion won from the Hosan city budget and storing it in a Hong Kong asset management company. Before going to the prosecutor's office, she confidently declared to reporters and protesters that she would cooperate with the investigation. But when she was in the interrogation room with the prosecutor, she acted arrogantly and denied all accusations that that she had embezzled city funds for her own benefit. After that, she was faced with a strong wave of protests from the protesters. She got in the car and tried to call Bong-soo for help, but he refused to meet her. At this time, she received a phone call from an employee informing her that the office was being searched by the prosecutor. Hearing this information, she immediately went to see Bong-soo. She asked him to help her escape this investigation, but he asked her to resign and accept the investigation order. She saw that the situation could not be negotiated anymore, so she threatened that she would reveal all the names of the party leaders and those who participated in the embezzlement of Hosan City's funds. Bong-soo warned that if she did that, she would be implicated. He also stressed that their party has gone through many ups and downs over the past 50 years, so if she intends to betray the party, she should prepare herself first. She returned to her office and told Secretary Bong-min that her party was trying to get rid of her. They asked her to take all the blame for them and that she should take the initiative to refuse. Myung-ja worriedly said that if things continued like this, she would have no hope of running for mayor in the next term. Then she asked the secretary to do something to cheer her up, so he started dancing and praising her. While the two were dancing and praising themselves, suddenly there was a loud explosion. She quickly called her subordinates to ask about the explosion that had just happened. However, her subordinates were still unable to confirm the cause of the explosion. Meanwhile, ambulances and fire trucks quickly arrived outside Guho's house. They quickly put out the fire from the burning car and loaded the injured into the ambulance. Jung-sik felt regretful when the suitcase of money he left in the trunk of his car was burned. Myung-ja also immediately called an emergency meeting to hear the report of the explosion. According to the staff's report, the explosion caused serious damage, including 2 trees, 3 street lamp posts, a car, and a motorbike. Hearing that, Myung-ja was not satisfied. She angrily asked if the trees or lamp posts were that important. Why didn't anyone count how many people were killed and injured? The staff explained that they were still waiting for the police's statistics. Myung-ja then ordered everyone to go out and check how many people were injured and whether there were enough ambulances. She couldn't calm down, so she angrily slammed the table and shouted that they still didn't understand what she said. She asked everyone to go out quickly. Then she sat down to watch the news about the masked man. On the news, the mysterious man was very angry that someone had detonated a bomb in a crowded place just to kill Guho. Seeing the situation like this, he also announced that from now on, anyone who participated in causing any injury to the people would be considered a criminal. When everyone had gone to do their duty, Mayor Myung-ja watched the news and told her secretary that she felt like God had just given her a lifeline. In her opinion, this evil criminal could be their savior. In order to protect the safety and happiness of Hosan City, she had to chase the notorious criminal Guho out of the city. At that time, she would become the city's hero. Myung-ja reminded the secretary that they had overcome everything together to get to where they were today, so now they had to take risks because they had no way back. At the hospital, Jun-seo was playing with Kan-yu's son. Because the baby's father was still lying unconscious on the hospital bed, it was unknown whether Kan-yu would survive or not. Soo-jang also encouraged Kan-yu's wife, and he gave Kan-yu's wife and son a stack of money. Soo-jang advised the two to take the money to cover their living expenses. Meanwhile, Sang-bong entered the office and saw Myung-ja's secretary waiting for him. Secretary Bong-min then suggested that he would pay Sang-bong 1 billion won. Bong-min promised to give 200 million each year, but on one condition: Sang-bong would take Guho out of the city. Sang-bong then arrives and tells Guho that he must leave the city immediately and not return for 5 years, or he will get 1 billion won. Sang-bong also tells Guho the reason why is because no politician would want to see their area in chaos. Hearing this, Guho wants to take his son with him. Myung-ja then goes to Seon-hun to inform him that she will take Guho out of Hosan City tonight. She asks him to just help her get Guho out of here safely. When he hesitates, because he is afraid of an accident during the move, she says that this is a win-win situation. She becomes a model mayor who is devoted to the people, and he becomes a competent police officer in the eyes of everyone. Secretary Bong-min then reports to the mayor that he has placed reporters in appropriate locations. The purpose was to ensure that the mayor would get the best possible shots. He also suggested to the mayor that she should speak during the live evening news broadcast. This would create a stronger media effect. The mayor immediately agreed to this idea. A memorial was erected at the site of the bomb explosion to commemorate the victims. Secretary Bong-min also brought a bouquet of flowers and signaled the reporters to get ready for action. The mayor then went to pay her respects to the victims with a sad face. She then stood in front of the murderer Guho's house and burst into tears, naming the 2 victims who died in the bomb explosion. She choked up and said that this tragedy would not have happened if the murderer Guho had not been there. Then she turned to the crowd and declared that she promised all the people that she would chase Guho out of Hosan City. The crowd cheered loudly when they heard this promise. The reporters kept taking pictures of the mayor's sincere expressions. Then she turned back to the house and loudly asked Guho to talk to her. She also said that if he refused to talk, she would not leave. She immediately knelt down on the ground to add authenticity. The crowd chanted her name in unison to cheer. At this time, Secretary Bong Min stepped out of the car and asked the hired extras to get ready. He also gave them detailed instructions on what emotions they needed to act out so that they could portray their roles realistically. Then, when it was starting to get dark, a mother and daughter deliberately appeared. These two people were arranged by the secretary to meet the mayor. The little girl went to the mayor and gave her a piece of paper with words of encouragement and a blanket to keep her warm, saying, "I believe in you and I hope you do your best." This well-acted act was immediately cheered by the crowd. A moment later, Guho came out as planned and called the mayor into the house to talk. The staff also stood her up. In the eyes of the people, she was now seen as a hero who was willing to sacrifice herself for the people. However, as soon as she entered the house, her attitude completely changed. She ignored Guho and leisurely sat down on a chair to regain her strength, because she had been kneeling in the cold all afternoon. At this time, Guho glanced at the lawyer and frankly asked the mayor to talk about the money clearly. The mayor promised that he would receive 1 billion won within 5 years, on the condition that he would not return to Hosan City during that time. When he asked her what she would get from this, she said that she would gain public support. She said that in the last election, she had spent more than 2 billion won to buy nearly 200,000 votes. But if he left the city, she could get hundreds of thousands of votes in the next election without spending a penny. Guho also extended his hand to accept the cooperation. The mayor walked out with a triumphant face and was about to announce the good news to everyone. However, the mayor did not expect Sangbong to come out and play the recording of the conversation that had been discussed up until now. He then announced that his client wanted to change some terms of the agreement, so the mayor had to go back inside because she had been caught in a weak spot. She grabbed Guho and was knocked down by him. Sangbong also demanded that the amount be increased to 10 billion within 5 years. After a while of worrying about falling into a trap, she nodded in agreement and walked out. The mayor then got into his car to leave. The secretary asked if they should pay Guho, and she replied in a firm voice without hesitation. She said that the 10 billion won was not a problem. What worried her was that the two men would threaten her for the rest of her life. It was a kind of chain that she couldn't escape from. Soon after, she received a text message from Sangbong asking her to transfer the money today. At the same time, a police officer rushed in to report to the police chief that they had located the masked man. According to the investigation, it was the building right in front. He immediately ordered his subordinates to go there immediately. Many riot police began to storm into the building. Jung-sik and his comrades rushed upstairs and broke the door to enter the room. They found a roulette wheel and many high-tech audiovisual devices, along with the mysterious man's 3-circle symbol. Jung-sik spun the roulette wheel, and it still pointed to the name Kim Guho, the reward of 20 billion won, and the punishment of death. When Jung-sik tried again, the result was the same. On the third spin, the result was the same. This made Jung-sik extremely suspicious. 13 years ago, after Kim Guho attacked Mi-jin, he was surprised to find that she was no longer breathing, but he still calmly walked home. But his wife discovered that his shirt was torn to shreds. Later, the son saw his mother digging in the backyard. She was looking for the evidence he used to attack the victims. While washing clothes, she hesitated because she didn't know whether to call the police or not. That day, when the murderer Guho was taking his son Dongha to the zoo, his wife had finished making a phone call. Immediately, the police appeared and arrested this evil criminal. He immediately cursed her and was immediately escorted away by the police. Time passed very quickly, and now Dongha no longer takes his father's last name. He has become a violin genius. He has also won many prestigious awards. Dongha also appeared in the media as a talent. He is sought after by many prestigious art academies around the world. During the interview, a reporter suddenly mentioned that Guho was about to finish his prison term. She asked Dongha if he wanted to apologize to the public. Dongha immediately responded with a question. He asked back why he had to apologize. Seeing that, the teacher immediately spoke up to to defend him. Dong-ha then went to the supermarket with his violin teacher to show off his award to his mother. At this time, some customers standing nearby began to mock Dong-ha. They said that the violin genius was actually the son of the criminal Guho. They thought that he must be a pervert like his father. Hearing this, Dong-ha's mother immediately rushed over and grabbed the collar of the person who had said that. She loudly questioned why they compared her son to such a despicable person. She also emphasized that her son was not like him. Dong-ha also felt extremely hurt at this time. That's why when Guho was released from prison, Dong-ha appeared outside the prison. Dong-ha looked at Guho, who was surrounded by people with eyes full of resentment. At this time, Guho was also reading the news articles about the awards his son had won. After Sangbong received the money from the mayor, he bought Guho a flat-screen TV. Afterwards, the two of them watched the performance of the violin genius boy again. Sangbong also promised that he would bring Guho's son back. Currently, the house where Dong-ha is staying is constantly surrounded by YouTubers and TikTokers. They are outside day and night to hunt for new images. This makes him feel extremely suffocated. The next morning when Dong-ha goes to high school, he receives a series of messages from his friends. They say that his father is a famous criminal. Later, a group of students come into the classroom. They start to pick a fight with Dong-ha and make sarcastic comments. Those people say that Dong-ha's father is worth 20 billion won. Then they question why Dong-ha's last name is not Kim, but Seo. They think that Dong-ha is deliberately changing his identity to hide his past. When Dong-ha tries to leave, he is immediately punched by someone. At this time, a female student spoke up to rescue Dong-ha. When this person was about to use force on her, the supervisor appeared. Immediately after that, they began to punish this female student in a deserted place and filmed it. Dong-ha immediately appeared with a bucket of gasoline, and he went to pour it on all of them. Dong-ha even poured it on his own body. When Dong-ha was beaten by them, he immediately took out a lighter. Dong-ha quickly lit it, scaring them away. Then Dong-ha gently turned to his friend and said that from now on, she should not act like she knew him anymore. Then he lowered his head and walked away. When Dong-ha returned home, he saw many lines written all over the door, asking him to disappear. At this time, his mother was trying to wipe away those lines to ease his pain, but Dong-ha stopped her and told her not to wipe anymore, because wiping these lines would not change anything. Then he hugged his mother and gently said that he was fine. Meanwhile, at the police station, Jung-sik continued to spin the roulette wheel, and the result was still Guho with the same reward and punishment. He then studied the masked man's videos again. Eun-jung came over and showed him an important detail that she had just discovered. The masked man had been broadcast 5 times, and they were all mentioned in this article. Chang-jae also appeared here. They were all criminals who had not been properly punished, and the last one was the murderer Guho. Then, Jung-sik discovered a line of words behind the masked man. Eun-jung guessed that it was the words Midian Church. At this time, the violin teacher brought a female professor to Dong-ha's house. The female professor praised Dong-ha's excellent performance and invited him to study at her royal conservatory. She said that she would provide everything he needed. However, Dong-ha only replied that he needed more time to think. Dong-ha's mother was very surprised when she heard that. She immediately promised that Dong-ha would go to school, but he still hesitated. That evening, Dong-ha secretly looked and saw his mother taking a box out of the closet. Then she put it back in its original place. After that, she suggested that he go study abroad. She still had some things to take care of and promised to go there with him soon. But Dong-ha replied that if his mother didn't go, he wouldn't go either. Now at Midian Church, there was a young pastor preaching and receiving a lot of love from the members of the sect. Jung-sik was also sitting below with the other members to listen. After finishing the preaching, the young pastor got in his car to leave. Jung-sik also quickly drove after him and went to a mansion. Jung-sik went in and saw the young pastor taking care of a paralyzed pastor. Jung-sik then tried to ask about the mysterious videos that were causing a stir recently, but Pastor Junwoo said that he was not interested in videos on the internet. At Jung-sik's house, his wife asked her daughter Sumi to bring him things to the police station. Sumi reluctantly took the bag and left, but as soon as Sumi walked downstairs, Chang-jae drove his truck to follow her. Sumi took the bus to the police station. Later, when Sumi was walking on the street, Chang-jae hurriedly approached her. Jung-sik called his wife and found out that Sumi had left the house a long time ago. Suddenly, he saw his bag lying on the ground. Unexpectedly, he received another call from his wife, but her voice was very panicked. Jung-sik immediately went home and saw Chang-jae calmly eating noodles in his house. Jung-sik angrily grabbed Chang-jae and asked where his daughter was. Chang-jae immediately questioned why Jung-sik dared to take his money. Chang Jae said that Jung-sik had brought this upon himself. Chang Jae said that now he did not need Jung-sik to pay 1 billion anymore, but he asked Jung-sik to bring Guho in exchange for Soo-mi, because what Chang Jae wanted now was to kill Guho himself to get the 20 billion reward. Chang Jae also threatened that if Jung-sik reported to the police, he would take away one of Soo-mi's fingers. At this time, Chang Jae also held Soo-mi's phone up for Jung-sik to see. Then he took the phone and left the house. When Jung-sik's wife heard this, she completely collapsed. He immediately hugged his wife and promised that he would bring their daughter back safely. At this time, Sang-bong also came to the house to find Dong-ha's mother. Seeing that, she followed him outside to talk. He gave her a divorce agreement, but with a clause that gave Guho custody of the child. She immediately returned the papers and was about to leave. Sang-bong insisted that Guho would not forgive her if he did not get custody of the child. She angrily told him not to touch Dong-ha or she would kill anyone who dared to get in his way. Sang-bong then took out a voice recorder from his pocket and said that he had recorded everything she said. Dong-ha then went into his mother's room and saw a book on the bed. He picked it up and read it and found out that it was a human anatomy manual. He decided to take out the box that his mother had hidden and saw a sharp knife inside. He then looked out the window and saw that his mother was being mentally threatened by Sang-bong. Jung-sik panicked and drove to find her and called Eun-jung. He said that he wanted her to track the location of his daughter's phone. At the same time, he begged her to help and not ask any more questions. Then Jung-sik went to the security monitoring room at the police station to track down the location of the truck that Chang Jae drove, but the car was lost because the camera there was broken. The next morning, Dong-ha went to his father's house. He sneaked out the back and threw his backpack upstairs. Then he went to the front door and was body searched by the police. He informed the police that he was Guho's son. The police asked for permission from their superiors and allowed Dong-ha to go inside. Guho hurriedly opened the door and hugged Dong-ha happily. Guho quickly pulled Dong-ha into the house and said that he had a lot of money now. He could buy anything Dong-ha wanted to eat, but Dong-ha said that right now he just wanted to drink with Guho. Hearing Dong-ha say that, Guho immediately called Sang-bong. Guho asked Sang-bong to buy expensive whiskey and food and bring them here. While waiting, Dong-ha asked permission to go to his old room. Guho agreed because they were waiting for food to be brought. Dong-ha went to the room he used to stay in as a child. Dong-ha went to the window and tried to reach for his backpack. He removed the curtain and used an iron bar to pull the backpack in. But suddenly Guho called out, causing Dong-ha to be startled and dropped the iron bar on the ground. At this time, Dong-ha's mother came home and saw a brand new refrigerator and a letter inside. She read the letter and guessed what her son was planning to do, so she rushed to find him. Before that, Dong-ha had sold his violin to buy a refrigerator for his mother. Dong-ha decided to end it all himself, and he didn't want his mother to suffer any more pain because of Guho. At this time, Dong-ha went downstairs and drank with Guho. The police announced over the radio that Guho's wife had arrived. Guho wanted to reunite his family, so he agreed, but they had to do a thorough search before letting her in. Dong-ha poured Guho a glass of wine. The backpack was no longer outside. Dong-ha pulled out a knife and attacked Guho, but he dodged it and then punched Dong-ha repeatedly and pinned him down on the table. Dong-ha managed to stab Guho in the stomach a few times, but he was also knocked unconscious. Dong-ha's mother walked in and saw that he was unconscious. She decided to take the knife from him and quickly wiped the fingerprints off the knife. She then went over and stabbed Guho repeatedly in the chest, knocking him out. She smeared blood on her lips and walked out. She raised her hands and declared that she had killed Guho. The masked man then began a live broadcast. The mysterious man was very excited because the woman stabbed Guho repeatedly in the side and chest, causing him to fall into a coma. If Guho died, the 20 billion won would belong to her. The day before the incident at Incheon Airport, a young man had just arrived in Korea. He presented his American passport to the customs officer for inspection, and he was allowed to enter Korea. He did not know Korean, so he had to use a translation app to communicate. This person was called Mr. Smile by the assassins, because even when he was on duty, his lips always had a bright smile. At this time, Mr. Smile began to open the file of information about his next mission. Inside were pictures of Guho and Sang-bong. Immediately after that, he received a message from his client. That person asked him to take all the recording devices from these two, and especially that he bring them back alive. The person who hired this assassin was Secretary Jong Min for $500 million won. The mayor was very angry because the assassin's price was too high. She doubted whether the assassin could do anything. The secretary also said that Miss Smile was a mysterious person. His movements were uncertain and no one knew his real nationality, and he had never reduced his price in any deal. In particular, Mr. Smile had the ability to choose the location to attack the target extremely accurately. The plan was drawn up. Mr. Smile would climb to the roof of a nearby building and use a sniper rifle to shoot a rubber bullet into Guho's head, knocking him unconscious. Then Mr. Smile would shoot a rope across to the opposite building. Then he would swing across the rope with a smile on his face. After landing, he would sneak in like a ghost and easily carry Guho away. He went to the multi-purpose hangar that he had prepared. Mr. Smile will hook the key to his body and silently go up like Superman. Everything happens without a sound, and he escapes through the building next door and disappears. When the mayor hears this, she gets angry and yells at him that he thinks he is acting in a movie. Then she calls him an idiot. Meanwhile, Mr. Smile has started to act. Mr. Smile follows Sangbong to his office. The next day, Mr. Smile ambushes on a building opposite with a sniper rifle, but at that moment, Guho's wife suddenly appears and attacks Sangbong. Seeing this, Miss Smile retreats and informs Jong Min that the target has been killed by someone else. Secretary Jong Min immediately orders that they move on to the second target. At this time, Jong Sik is on duty at police station to monitor the video recording the scene of his daughter being taken by Chang Jae into a truck. Although the police have tracked it through the camera, they cannot determine where the truck went. Suddenly Yoonjung called to inform that Sumi's phone just emitted a signal near Songsan Mountain, but the signal was cut off soon after, so she couldn't pinpoint the exact location. Jung Sik wanted to go there in a hurry, but he was stopped by his colleagues and superiors. They asked Jung Sik to go to the hospital where Guho was being treated. Before leaving, Jung Sik called Eunjung for help. He said that his daughter was being held by Chang Jae. His daughter's phone had just received a signal near that area. Jung Sik thought that Chang Jae was still hiding within a radius of about 500 meters. He asked her to go there first to support him. He told her to be very careful. She shouldn't let Chang Jae find out or Sumi would be in danger. After saying that, Jung Sik quickly ran off to do his duty. Eunjung quickly drove to the signal area. She discovered an abandoned slaughterhouse, so she opened the door and went inside. Inside, she saw a smoking barrel and a locked room. Eunjung looked through the crack in the door and saw an unconscious girl lying inside. While Eunjung was texting Jung Sik, Chang Jae suddenly appeared. Chang Jae hit Eunjung hard on the head with an iron bar and continued to hit her many times. Then he picked up the phone and dragged her away. Meanwhile, Guho was not dead yet. He was gradually recovering after the surgery. Reporters were also loudly reporting on his health condition. Although he was stabbed many times by his wife, he recovered very quickly. Sangbong was also present at the hospital at this time and called on everyone to pray for Guho. However, when Sangbong was about to enter the hospital room, Junseo stopped him. Junseo asked to check Sangbong's belongings before he went in. When Sangbong entered the hospital room, Guho had also regained consciousness and was breathing weakly. Jung Sik quickly hid in a corner to call Eunjung. However, the person who answered the phone was Chang Jae. Chang Jae immediately asked why Jung Sik sent the police to find him. Chang Jae immediately threatened that he would cut off Sumi's hand as punishment because he was too panicked. Jung Sik quickly knelt down and begged. Then Chang Jae swung the knife down to scare Jung Sik. Because he was too scared, Jung Sik quickly promised that he would bring Guho there at all costs. At the same time, Sangbong left the hospital and Junseo watched and said that he was the most despicable person in the world. Sangbong visited the NCT project that had just been relicensed with a happy face. Then Sangbong called lawyer Kim to inform him that he had helped Bong Soo control Mayor Myungja. Sangbong promised to give Bong Soo 2 buildings, so he was approved to reissue the license for the NCT project. Sangbong had just entered the office when he was horrified to see his female employee tied up. Sangbong was suddenly pointed a silencer gun at him from behind by Mr. Smile. Mr. Smile showed Sangbong a photo of Guho. Mr. Smile used translation software to ask for Guho's room number. Then Mr. Smile asked Sangbong to hand over all the computer recorders and phones. Mr. Smile told Sangbong to hand them all over and not keep any copies. Sangbong obediently did as he was told. His hands were shaking as he put each roll of tape into his bag. Then Mr. Smile used anesthetic to make Sangbong unconscious. Then Mr. Smile entered the hospital with a smile. At this time, Jung Sik also went to the hospital room and asked all the police to leave for lunch. He would stay and watch. They left without any suspicion. Jung Sik quickly took a cart to start the action. Jung Sik went into the room, unlocked the handcuffs from the bed, and handcuffed Guho's hands. Suddenly Guho woke up, but Jung Sik immediately covered his mouth and pointed a gun at his head. At the same time, Mr. Smile went upstairs and planted explosive devices in the hallways. When the door opened, Mr. Smile immediately fired a silencer, subduing Jung Sik. He tried to resist but was immediately knocked down. Miss Smile proceeded to remove the electronic leg cuffs from Guho. At this time, time, the detonators were activated. Thick smoke rose. Miss Smile put on a gas mask and carried Guho out of the smoke and fire water. Jung-sik regained consciousness and announced over the radio that Guho had been taken away. He ordered all exits to be blocked. The police were searching the entire hospital when they discovered the elevator going down to the basement. Mr. Smile carried Guho to the car, which contained Sang-bong. The police quickly identified his car and followed, but Miss Smile pressed a button to scatter a pile of iron nails on the ground, causing the inspector's car to explode. Other police cars continued to chase, but Mr. Smile's car had already reached the ground and escaped. Soo-jang and Jung-sik tracked the location of the black car in a forest. However, the car did not return, so the two decided to drive into the forest to check. When they arrived, it was already dark. The two saw the black car abandoned in the middle of the forest. There was no one inside, so the two immediately split up to search. At this time, Sang-bong and Guho were tied up in a house. Miss Smile then discovered that someone had broken into the house, but surprisingly, it was the secretary and Mayor Myung-ja. The secretary quickly introduced the mayor as the client who hired Mr. Smile. She was pleased with his skillful assassination skills. At this time, Guho quietly pulled out the needle still stuck in his hand to unlock the handcuffs. The secretary also began to check Sang-bong's data storage devices. Miss Smile also checked the money bag for this case. The mayor suddenly got angry and repeatedly slapped Guho in the face for daring to set her up. She also scolded Sang-bong for being on the wrong side. Then she ordered him to be executed. Sang-bong tried to plead and insisted that he still had a copy of the recording. Sang-bong also swore that everything was Guho's fault and not his, but the mayor still coldly asked the assassin to shoot him immediately. Miss Smile immediately complied with this request, leaving Sang-bong unable to close his eyes. When the assassin was about to execute Guho, the mayor suddenly told him to stop. She wanted to personally shoot Guho. Mr. Smile suddenly handed her the gun and agreed to hand over the silencer, but then she suddenly pointed the gun and shot Mr. Smile twice to kill the assassin so she wouldn't have to pay. Then she kicked Guho once and ordered her secretary to kill him. However, Guho had already unlocked the handcuffs. Before the secretary could fire, he was suddenly shot dead by Mr. Smile on the spot. The assassin stood up and regained the initiative, but when he was about to attack the mayor, he was ambushed by Guho with a chair. When Mr. Smile just picked up the gun, he was hit hard by Guho again. At this time, the mayor staggered and crawled out. Guho rushed over, and together with the assassin, Mr. Smile broke the glass door and fell out together. During the struggle, Guho was able to lock Mr. Smile's handcuffs on his hands. Then the two began to struggle for the weapon. But in the end, Guho was lucky to get the gun and shot Mr. Smile dead. Then the gun ran out of bullets. Meanwhile, Soo-jang called Jung-sik and informed him that he had just received news of a shooting. Soo-jang asked Jung-sik to quickly go to the scene to check. At this time, Guho tried to run outside and quickly drove away in a car, but he was no longer conscious, so the car quickly stopped. Two nearby police officers found a man slumped in the car. Jung-sik arrived at the mansion and saw the mayor staggering out. Seeing Jung-sik pointing a gun at her, she raised her hand and smiled. In fact, Chang-jae was a criminal who specialized in stalking and harassing women. He had previously read a petition from a victim who had accused him by name. That person suggested that the punishment be increased because he had done something to a female employee of that person. So Chang-jae immediately went to the beauty salon of this woman to monitor her. That night, Chang-jae captured and tied up the woman. He poured gasoline all over the shop. Although she managed to escape outside, her shop still exploded. At this time, Chang-jae was burning all of Eun-jung's belongings. Sumi woke up tied up. Then Chang-jae also went in to change the bandage on his ear. Now the news was also reporting a shooting at a mansion in the suburbs of Hosan City. The incident killed the mayor's secretary and Sang-bong. Meanwhile, Guho's whereabouts are still unknown, causing public confusion. At this time, Jung-sik and his teammates entered the crime scene to investigate, but they did not find Mr. Smile, but only two bodies that had been shot the night before. The mayor's honor has now completely collapsed. She tried to beg to be admitted to the Gukmin party's high-level meeting, but she was refused because she was no longer the mayor. At this time, Jung-sik called Chang-jae and confirmed that Guho was still alive. Jung-sik asked Chang-jae to give him a chance. He would definitely bring Guho. Chang-jae also said that Jung-sik had to bring Guho today because this was his last chance. Then Chang-jae brought pizza in and invited Sumi to eat with him. When he heard her say that her father was a respected police officer, she also said that her family was very poor, so he would not ask for anything. Chang-jae immediately said that her father was a thief. Her father stole his money. The girl heard and immediately spoke up to tell him about her father. Chang-jae also quietly went out. The police chief was discussing the shooting with other senior members when Jung-sik's wife rushed in a panic. She announced that she could no longer contact her husband. At that moment, Jung-sik and two of his colleagues were going to a nursing home because Jung-sik received a report from two patrol policemen that Guho was lying in the car. Jung-sik was very anxious to see Guho, but the door was locked. Then the doctor opened the door, and Guho was lying unconscious on the hospital bed. At that moment, Jung-sik received a call from Chang-jae. Chang-jae called to ask if Guho was still alive. Jung-sik quickly ran to the ambulance parked outside and saw that the key was still in the car. At this time, Soo-jang received a phone call from the police chief. He complained about Jung-sik's wife bursting into the office crying. The police chief told Soo-jang to tell Jung-sik to call his wife immediately and not to let his family interfere with his work like that. Jung-sik returned to the hospital room with a worried face. Soo-jang also informed Jung-sik of the content of the call he had just received. Then he told them to prepare to escort Guho away. Suddenly, Jung-sik fired a shot that grazed Jun-seo's shoulder. Jung-sik ordered Soo-jang not to resist. Then Jung-sik handcuffed the two to the door and said that he would explain everything later. Then Jung-sik quickly pushed Guho to the ambulance and carried him into the car. When Jung-sik was pointed at by two patrol police officers with electric guns, he immediately pulled out a real gun to threaten them. Jung-sik asked them to throw him the police car keys. When Jung-sik received the keys, he quickly threw them far away. Then he gave back the handcuff key to untie his two teammates. Then Jung-sik also drove the ambulance away. Jung-sik immediately called Chang-jae to inform him that he had captured Guho. Chang-jae was extremely happy to hear that. Jung-sik also asked to be exchanged for his daughter immediately. After hanging up, Chang-jae also texted Jung-sik the location of the transaction. Meanwhile, Jun-seo was also being bandaged. Soo-jang was confused because he did not know why Jung-sik acted like that. Jung-sik drove to a tunnel as requested by Chang-jae. Chang-jae asked Jung-sik to stop the car in the middle of the tunnel. Just leave the car running and get out. Jung-sik asked to see his daughter first, but Chang-jae immediately said that she was in the trunk of the car at the end of the tunnel. Jung-sik then opened the back door of the ambulance and did something to Guho's body. Then Jung-sik asked Chang-jae to show him his daughter first, but Chang-jae said that she was bleeding profusely. After Jung-sik heard this, he immediately ran forward. Chang-jae came from behind and drove the ambulance away. Jung-sik checked the entire car, but he couldn't find his daughter. The ambulance also sped past. Jung-sik tried to drive after her, but the car ran out of fuel. At this time, Chang-jae was extremely excited because he had taken Guho worth 20 billion won. Chang-jae answered the phone and informed Jung-sik that after he finished, he would take Soo-mi home. Then Chang-jae continued to happily look at Guho lying in the back of the car. At this time, Jung-sik quickly took out the GPS device to look. It turned out that Chang-jae had secretly placed his smartwatch on Guho's body. Chang-jae didn't know and continued to take Guho to the refrigerated truck. Chang-jae was overjoyed when he discovered Guho was still breathing. Chang-jae then drove the truck away to start the redemption process. Now Soo-jang and his subordinates were also driving to find Jung-sik. They thought that Jung-sik had taken Guho away because of the 20 billion won reward. Soo-jang's subordinate ran forward and saw an empty ambulance. The car had no keys inside. Jung-sik tried to wave at passing cars to ask for a ride, but it was all in vain. So he took out his gun to threaten them. He showed his police ID, so he borrowed the car. When the truck stopped, Guho opened his eyes, but Guho realized that someone was coming, so he closed his eyes and pretended to be dead. Chang-jae immediately cut Guho's handcuffs and entered his lair. Chang-jae quickly took a selfie before taking action. While Chang-jae was getting his tools, Guho saw the murder weapon next to him, so he grabbed a knife. Chang-jae took out the scythe to prepare to earn the 20 billion won reward. But unexpectedly, Chang-jae was stabbed in the leg by Guho. Then, Guho continuously stabbed Chang-jae with a fatal knife. When Chang-jae tried to leave, Guho caught him and killed him. Soo-mi heard the sound of the fight, so she took a piece of iron to defend herself. At this time, Jung-sik called Chang-jae to ask where his daughter was, but Guho was the one who answered the phone. Guho also guessed that Jung-sik's daughter was here. Hearing that, Jung-sik panicked and quickly begged Guho not to harm his daughter, but Guho just smiled evilly and hung up. This made Jung-sik extremely scared and immediately sped up to drive there. At this time, Guho discovered Soo-mi's place. He also complimented her on her beauty. He approached to cut the rope and tried to touch her face, but she attacked him with a sharp object. But when she ran outside, she fell and fainted. Guho came and shouted why everyone hated him and asked if she hated him too. Just then, Jung-sik arrived. Guho took Soo-mi hostage? Guho asked Jung-sik to put down the gun. Guho rushed to attack Jung-sik but was knocked down by Jung-sik. Jung-sik attacked Guho repeatedly to vent all his anger, but when Jung-sik picked up the gun, he was knocked down by Guho. Guho then ran away. Guho tried to use his last bit of strength to escape, but he did not know that everything was in the sights of Pastor Jun-woo. The next day, Dong-ha was preparing to fly abroad with his teacher when he heard the news that his mother had confessed all her sins and would be prosecuted. Dong-ha could not accept this, so he immediately apologized to his teacher. He said he didn't want to go anymore, and then he ran out of the airport. At this time, Jung-sik also woke up and quickly searched for Sumi all over the hospital. He finally found her in the intensive care room. The doctor informed him that her pulse had returned to normal, but she was still in a coma. The doctor also asked to speak to Jung-sik privately. The doctor revealed that Sumi showed signs of being abused, so she needed more tests and might need psychological treatment. After hearing that, Jung-sik collapsed. Then Jung-sik asked to immediately arrest Guho, but Jun-seo stopped him because he was worried that Jung-sik would be fired. When Junho left, Jung-sik started to notice the fire hydrant system on the ceiling. Then Jung-sik went outside and asked the two policemen guarding the door for a cigarette and a lighter. They gave it to him. At this time, Guho was dragging his tired body to escape. Then a black car sped across the street. When Guho collapsed, Pastor Jun-woo and his assistant also got out of the car. Now at the hospital, Jung-sik quickly put on his coat and turned the gas on his lighter to the maximum. Then he used it to light the sensor nozzle to activate the fire extinguisher. Then he sneaked out of the hospital room and locked the police guard in the room. He controlled a doctor and put on a white coat to blend in. Then he escaped outside and saw the ambulance still flashing its lights. He drove it away. Soo-jong checked the hospital camera and discovered his subordinate's actions, so he immediately mobilized many police cars to chase after him. At this time, Dong-ha went to the detention center to visit his mother. His mother was very surprised when she saw that he had not flown abroad yet. Dong-ha choked up and asked his mother why their life had turned out like this. His mother could only comfort him that everything would be fine when he returned from studying abroad, but Dong-ha coldly replied that he would kill Guho himself. Then he quickly left, leaving his mother screaming in despair. While Dong-ha was walking on the street, a black car suddenly drove up. Pastor Jun-woo said that with just that small knife, Dong-ha could not kill anyone. Jun-woo also asked if Dong-ha wanted to see his father again. Jun-woo's life had also experienced these cruel events. When Jun-woo was young, his mother was raped by a pastor. However, that person was only sentenced to 2 years and 6 months in prison because he showed remorse. That pastor committed the crime while drunk and not sober. Jun-woo saw the arrogant and unrepentant face of that pastor, which made him hate him even more. Jun-woo once tried to attack him, but it only caused a few small scratches. Jun-woo's mother then made a foolish decision because she could not bear the shock. That's why Jun-woo chose to use roulette to punish those who assaulted women. Chang-jae also became a target because he often stalked and harassed women, but Guho committed a bigger crime, so his punishment was also at the highest level. Jun-woo decided to become a pastor to replace that coward. Jun-woo wanted to spread good values to many people. The paralyzed old man who always accompanied Jun-woo was the one who harmed his mother in the past. When seeing how Jun-woo took good care of this old pastor, everyone admired him because there was no blood relationship between the two of them. When the old pastor tried to unlock the wheelchair, Jun-woo gently told him that he once said he wanted to go to heaven. He would go there if he paid the price for the sins he had committed. But Jun-woo insisted that it was far from over because Jun-woo would not let him go so easily. Jun-woo is actually a person who loves children, and he is managing an orphanage. Every time Jun-woo injects the old man with a drug that makes his life worse than death. At this time, Jun-woo also takes Dong-ha to his orphanage. Jun-woo tells Dong-ha that killing is not the right way to get revenge. Making the enemy live a humiliating life where he can't even die is the true revenge. That's what Jun-woo did to the old pastor. Dong-ha choked up and confessed that he and his mother were exhausted. Dong-ha wanted to end everything right now. Jun-woo replied that if Guho died, Guho wouldn't have to go through the same miserable life as Dong-ha and his mother. Dong-ha would live in hell forever. Dong-ha also said that he was living in hell now. Right now, he just wanted to escape from it. After hearing this, Jun-woo immediately remembered 20 years ago. At that time, Jun-woo lived with his mother in a church. One time, Jun-woo entered his room and did not see his mother, so Jun-woo ran to the pastor's room and found his mother lying unconscious in the room. The pastor also said that Jun-woo's mother was sick, so he was taking care of her. Seeing that, Jun-woo rushed in and saw his mother lying unconscious and syringes scattered on the table. At that time, the pastor advised Jun-woo to go back to his room, but Jun-woo did not listen and bit his hand. Then Jun-woo took the statue and hit him repeatedly, but someone stopped Junwoo. After a while, Junwoo's mother could not overcome the shock, so she did something stupid. At this time, Junwoo went to see Guho and asked if the feeling of having to try to survive at the bottom of society was scary, right? Junwoo pulled out a syringe to inject Guho, but then stopped. Junwoo said that he would let Guho's son decide the rest. Junwoo then took a picture of Guho. At the same time, Jungsik also drove the ambulance into the sanctuary of the Midian church. Jungsik then got out with a gun and located Guho. Jungsik saw a room with lights on, so he went up to search. He then found a room with the symbol of the masked man inside. He saw his GPS watch lying on the ground. Junwoo led Dongha to a church deep in the forest. When they opened the door and went inside, they saw Guho sitting in the main hall. Pastor Junwoo took out a syringe and said that if Dongha injected it into Guho, all of his blood vessels would burst and the pain would last for 5 minutes. Junwoo asked Hongdo one last time if that was enough to make up for his previous life. Because Guho only suffered for 5 minutes, Dongha nodded. At the same time, Junwoo posted Guho's photo online. The news immediately caused a stir, and people rushed to the church to kill Guho. Everyone was holding weapons to claim the reward money. Sujan, Junseo, and many police cars rushed to the church. Junwoo put his hand on Dongha's shoulder and gently said that he was running out of time. Then Junwoo went outside. When Jungsik saw the post, he immediately came. Junwoo stood outside and received a report from his assistant that the online community's reaction was very positive. However, Junwoo still doubted that Dongha would fail. At this time, Dongha was about to inject his father with the drug, but suddenly Guho spoke up and apologized sincerely. Guho admitted that he was wrong. Guho knew that Dongha did nothing wrong, so Guho advised Hadong to think about his mother and live happily with her. At the same time, Guho also begged for forgiveness. Hearing that, Dongha hesitated and lowered the needle. However, Guho suddenly grabbed Hadong's hand. Guho said that no matter how upside down the world is, there is no way a child would want to kill his father. Then Guho kicked Dongha down and strangled him. Guho said that he gave Dongha a chance, but why did Dongha want to become a criminal? Just then, Junwoo returned and saw Dongha lying on the ground. Suddenly, Junwoo was attacked by Guho. Guho questioned Junwoo if he was the one behind all this. Then Guho angrily said that there are many bad people in this world, so why him? Guho said that he had already paid the price. Junwoo tried to get up and asked who had the right to decide that Guho had paid for what he had done. Guho replied that it was the law of the land. Then Guho was knocked to the ground. Junwoo argued that Guho had paid the price too lightly. Junwoo asked back if Guho thought that was enough. Guho angrily said that Junwoo thought he was a god. Then Guho scolded Junwoo, saying that you are worse than me, because Junwoo shouldn't have dragged Dongha into this. Junwoo then asked back who Guho thought really wanted to kill him the most. When Guho was pinning Junwoo against the wall, Dongha suddenly attacked his father with an iron bar. Dongha was beaten by Guho a lot, but Dongha took the initiative and was about to stab Guho to death. But at this moment, Jungsik suddenly appeared and advised Dongha to stop. Jungsik also said that he understood that Dongha had to go through terrible things because of Guho. But now Jungsik is here. Jungsik will arrest Guho. Jungsik finally stops Dongha and handcuffs Guho. Jungsik then discovers the masked man's symbol in the church, so he orders Pastor Junwoo to surrender. But Junwoo points to the door. At this time, many people are rushing in with the goal of killing Guho to get the reward money. In the face of the chaos of the crowd, Jungsik has to fire warning shots to disperse them. Then he is forced to attack those people. Jungsik also says that when he thinks of his daughter, he wants to kill Guho more than anyone else. However, as a policeman, Jungsik cannot do that. Jungsik also warns that people may want to kill a monster, but are they sure that they will not become another monster? At that moment, Guho suddenly takes Dongha hostage and holds up the syringe threateningly. Guho also asks Dongha, "What if I inject that into you now?" But Dongha still insisted that Jungsik shoot Guho dead. When the crowd was about to rush in, Guho told Dongha to study hard and treat his mother well, because this was probably the end of Guho. When Guho just let go of Dongha, Jungsik also shot Guho once in the chest, causing him to collapse. The crowd immediately rushed to check if Guho was still alive. Then the police quickly entered and took Dongha away from the church. Jungsik realized that Pastor Junwoo had disappeared, so Jungsik hurriedly chased after him, but it was too late. The next day, news of Guho being shot dead at a church was also reported. The posted video caused a stir among netizens. The police immediately opened an investigation into the Midian church and the orphanage, but the person named in the case was the old pastor who was paralyzed. Junwoo was not actually a pastor and did not follow any sect. His education and name are fake. Junwoo's background and DNA do not match any national citizen database. Currently, no one knows where he comes from, and no police can explain his true identity. Dongha also decided to keep quiet and not reveal anything to the police. When the police chief asked Jung-sik if he saw a masked person that night, Soo-jang replied that he did not see anything. Meanwhile, Jung-sik was still on duty at his daughter's hospital bed. Finally, Soo-mi woke up. She opened her eyes and only called her mother. She did not want her father to hold her hand. However, both were very happy to see their daughter awake. A few days later, a stranger brought a file to Jung-sik's door. That person was none other than the mysterious guy Jun-woo. When Jung-sik opened the file, he saw an envelope with the symbol of the mysterious person inside. He opened the envelope and found information about a bank account containing 20 billion won and the key to a safe at a large bank. That was Jung-sik's reward for handling the target Guho. However, the mysterious person continued to initiate a new round. A few months later, Jung-sik was still searching for the masked man. Jung-sik had not touched the 20 billion won he left behind. At this time, a man with a gun walked towards a house in the middle of a field. He knocked out 2 guards, broke in, and took care of everyone inside. That person was the killer Mr. Smile. Soon after, Jung-sik also drove to this house. He discovered many people lying on the floor. He walked inside and saw the symbol of the mysterious person and the mask on the ground. When he pressed the enter key on the nearby computer, a video started playing. Mr. Smile appeared on the screen and smiled his familiar smile. Mr. Smile greeted Jung-sik. Mr. Smile also announced that a client had hired him to kill a mysterious person. Mr. Smile advised Jung-sik to stop chasing the mysterious person. Otherwise, Mr. Smile would hunt down and kill all of Jung-sik's relatives. Because the mysterious person was Mr. Smile's target, after Jung-sik watched the video, he was very hesitant. The movie ends here. Thank you for watching. Goodbye and see you again.